I would also argue that you turn on the news at any point, at any time, try finding the good news. Tough to find. But here's some good news. See what I did there? See how the pros do it. Good for the lawns, and Home Turf Lawn knows all about that. And when you go by, I think there's a certain age group that all of a sudden you hit a certain age and you start noticing people's lawns. You start talking about it. You start noticing, you're going, I wonder if they use, like, what age does that happen? Because whatever it is, I'm in that age group. Because you start looking at lawns, and sometimes with a little bit of jealousy. Maybe it's the way they cross-cut it. And you know what, Wally? I'm talking about you. Sorry, in my neighborhood, Wally is that guy where everything is perfect. Even the way he cuts it, he's probably got tweezers. God, he drives me nuts.
Probably uses home turf too.
He probably could use home turf. So we go to Matthew and Joel. Good morning, fellas. Thanks for joining us here this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Now, okay, so here is a question that I think a lot of people have, which is, we used to have seasons, and it used to go from spring to summer. All of a sudden, it goes from winter to summer. So when you have a lawn, people are like, make sure you do this, make sure you do that in the spring. I'm like, spring? What is spring? What is this spring you talk of? I don't see no spring. What are we doing here? What's happening? I mean, Joel, what has happened with this? So what are we supposed to do? Because that season now seems to either vanish or shortened.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've definitely seen a shortening of seasons, and every year is different, right? I mean, this year we had snow in May, right? So every year is throwing us different curveballs, for sure. We started early this year, and then it very much turned into summer, and then we got a little bit of snow, and now we're back to these cooler temperatures. So it is very unpredictable, but there are certainly things that you can do in order to keep your lawn in decent shape throughout all these changes in temperatures and sunlight and all those different things.
So what should have happened by now? What should we have done in the spring, or our so-called spring, and has that altered the way that we're going to approach the rest of the months?
Yeah, generally you don't need to alter it because that weather is unpredictable and it's going to change no matter what. But by now we definitely should have done a spring fertilizer that helps bring the lawn out of dormancy, get it moving again. And then another big thing that is very helpful in the spring is some seeding, right? Challenging when you have years like this year when it gets hot very quickly, but now we've got this perfect time to do some seeding. We've got this kind of intermittent rainfall. We're getting these cooler nights with morning dew, which lets that seed germinate quickly, and we have nice warm temperatures, which also, if you drive by a farm, everything's popping up very quickly, right? Mm-hmm. Because those warm temperatures allow for that. So seeding is a big one. And then another one that happens in around May and early June is weed control, right? We're kind of through dandelion season at this point, but I'm sure you noticed in around May, we get that just flood of yellow flowers everywhere, right? So a big part of May is controlling those weeds to make sure that they don't spread into the lawn over the summer months. And if you can get that under control in the early spring to early summer, then hopefully you can enjoy it a little bit more through those summer months.
Yeah, exactly. So Matt, in this kind of situation where in May, we saw temperatures that were flirting with the 40s with the humidex and so forth. And we usually don't see that sort of temperatures until like August or late July anyway, watering patterns for these kind of situations. When should a person be watering their lawn? Because I know there's specific times where, don't do this to prevent disease, but do it at this time. Maybe take us through that as well, because I see sprinklers on in my area 24/7. And I'm just wondering, there's got to be a way or a pattern of doing it at the right time and for the right amount as well.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our typical sort of summer watering tips actually applied in early spring, unfortunately this year. But typically we would advise, any homeowners, particularly home turf customers, the best time to water is early in the mornings. That's the time when you're going to see the least amount of evaporation loss. So it's best for actual water conservation, good for the environment. You're also going to be far less likely to see some of the common funguses that can appear when you overwater your lawn during the day, particularly in hot days or into the evenings. So the best recommendation is to water in the mornings. The other thing is to try and get some gauge of how much general water your lawn is getting. So obviously people tend to know when they'll hit a period of 4 or 5 days or a week straight with sunny, warm temperature and no rain. Obviously you need to water during those periods to avoid your lawn sort of drying out and starting to go into that brown dormant stage. But there's sometimes when you can actually dial your watering back a little bit, when we actually over the last few days, maybe the last week here, where we've gotten some more intermittent rain, because the best kind of watering is not just sort of a light misting of your lawn. It's that deep kind of 1 inch of precipitation that you get when we get a classic sort of Ontario thunderstorm roll through.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, further to that too, because you touched on something. When we see patches of yellow, is that instantly mean not enough water, or could it be something else?
It certainly could be something else. There's other common pests that can cause those types of issues. So that's something where you can kind of diagnose it often by touching the grass, determining kind of what's going on with the root structure. If the roots are still really strong and intact, it's often just a watering issue. But it can be symptomatic of other things that are going on. Could be grub issues, could be other sort of common pests, which Joel can talk to a little bit. But yeah, the big thing is obviously consistent watering patterns, early morning, making sure that you're getting that sort of deep watering 2 to 3 days a week. Your lawn's going to be in good shape.
Now, when people, for instance, want your service, this is something that is it year-round, or seasonal? Like, how would you describe what people are actually going to get? Because it's not like you're going in doing a summer thing and then calling it a day. I mean, I would think it's a whole program that they want to order.
That's right. Yeah, our customers would sign up for a program. This year we started in the 3rd week of March, got through all of our first series of applications by the end of April. And then customers are onto a schedule where they're receiving one application roughly every 4 to 6 weeks throughout the year. And we have it specifically designed so that the timing of each application fits with the products that we're actually applying. So we know, we can't do 2 consecutive fertilizer applications within a shorter period of time, because it could be actually harmful to the lawn. So everything is very much sort of methodically scheduled out. Most customers are receiving sort of anywhere from 4 to 5, maybe even as many as 6 visits per season for the customers on those highest programs. And those are going to be basically spread throughout sort of April to early October. And those customers typically come back season after season. And we're very fortunate. We have a very strong, loyal base of customers who've been with us, some of them for since the company's inception in the late 80s. And they see the benefit of that sort of continuous year-over-year progression of their lawn. But this year, we obviously have a ton of new customers, so we're going to be looking forward to seeing them back next year and for many years to come.
So Joel, you talked about dandelion season is done, and thankfully, because my neighbors across the street, it looks like their lawn is more yellow than anything else. And it bugs my other neighbor to his left, because he always complains to me saying, those dandelions are coming on my lawn because of this. So I don't have that problem, thankfully. But what summer pests should we be looking out for in the months of late June, July? Because things change as we go through and a little bit deeper into the summer. So what should we expect now?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few things. I mean, first and foremost, what we start to see in the coming weeks now is crabgrass. A lot of people confuse crabgrass for quackgrass, 2 different types of wheat grasses, if you will. Quack is a field grass, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it stays throughout the season. But crab is one that comes about in late June, early July, depending on the weather. It really thrives on hot weather and dry soil. So you'll start to see it come up. It's a lime green kind of flat grass, and then it stays through August. And we do have a product that we can apply in May and early June that's a preventative for that. So it stops it from coming up at this time. The good thing about crabgrass is that it goes away regardless. So at the end of August, it'll start to purple, and you'll see it die off because it really thrives off warm temperatures. So the nice thing there is, if you do see crabgrass this season and you don't want to get out there and pull it all out by hand, when you see it turning purple in August, get a good bag of grass seed, seed those areas really thoroughly, and it won't come back next year because the good grass will have crowded it out. Another big one that we see, and we've seen more and more of as we get these wild temperature swings that you guys spoke to earlier, is chinch bugs. Chinch bugs are very small insects that come about, again, in hot, dry weather. So we start to see the damage from them usually mid-July into August, and they suck on the tips of the grass, and they kind of kill the grass in large swaths. And again, we do have a product for that. That we can manage those with. And then again, of course, just like everything, as we get through these hot temperatures, depending on the season that we have and how the turf has been affected, best thing you can do is late August, as temperatures start to cool and we start to get rain again, is seed. That really makes the lawn come back nicely.
Well, and here's the other thing too, and this is why sometimes it's just better to let people who do something for a living do this, is that very often as a consumer, we're guessing. We don't really know. We go through Home Hardware or whatever it is, and we're reading the labels, or we saw an ad that said, grub be gone is a good thing. Well, here's the problem. If a guy like me is picking that product up and going to the checkout counter, and people are saying, "Oh, he knows what he's doing. He's got a product there." No, this man is an idiot. This man has spent way more time trying to dissect Finland versus Russia today in the Euros than I did whatever is in. It said "be gone" with the letter B, so it's got to be good. That's the one I'm buying. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to apply it. And next thing you know, your wife's yelling at you because why is all the grass dead? Because a grub be gone, terrible product, right? We don't know. And when you figure the money that you spend on landscaping, the money that is actually spent on lawn care, it is so much better to call someone like yourselves than Captain Bozo here picking out something because there's a picture of lightning through a cockroach or whatever they put on those things to make it work, because we really don't know. Because for instance, so in order to understand this stuff, people do go to school for this. There is an understanding that there is education behind this. And when you start doing it for years, sometimes it's better just to either go to pick up the phone, or now they just book online. I would think, is that the most common thing to get a hold of you guys?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, our through our website, customers can get an instantaneous quote. So 2 seconds, they can have a quote that's customized to their specific property. And then they can, within 2 minutes, they can be signed up. Typically, they'll get a follow-up call from one of our customer service reps just to confirm any details. But it's a pretty seamless process to go from getting a quote to being signed up to getting your first service application through our website.
Final question for me, guys. Mowing levels. I actually cut my neighbor's lawn across the street, and they always like it at a lower level, so I don't have to come back as often. I'm quoting them. I'm quoting them right here. It's not me. What should we be looking at right now? Because you don't want to scald the grass, so to speak, Joel, but you also want to leave it at a level where it still can do what grass is supposed to do, and not be in a situation where you're like, boy, that looks terrible. Because sometimes it can look terrible if you do it the wrong way.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to mowing, you have to be very careful. And that's one thing that people can underestimate, because we just cut our lawn, right? We don't think about the mower, and I've got to go cut it. But in the summertime, it's extremely important to raise that mower blade to the highest setting as we get warmer and warmer. What that does is it reduces evaporation. As the grass is longer, the sunlight can't get to the soil level as much. It won't dry out as quickly, and it reduces pests as well.
Well, gentlemen, thanks so much for this morning. By the way, it's HomeTurf.ca. You'll see all the stuff in the services, the areas. I mean, there's everything you need to find out. It's very simple. You enter your property address, and away you go. And of course, the guys here this morning, Matthew Hooper, and we never talked about this. Joel van Haastrecht, who is a midfielder for the Netherlands.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. How do you think Holland will do, considering you're on the team?
Oh, they'll always win, right?
Orange Crush.
There you go.
Those wooden shoes.
Yeah, you'd think that'd be illegal, or not that good. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Always appreciate it. And as I said, that money that we spend on our houses is, it's your property, right? There's really nothing else that we're ever going to have in our lifetime that's probably worth more than our own lawns. So you might want to let some professionals or get professional help if you need it. So really appreciate the time here this morning.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Once again, HomeTurf.ca, very easy to go to. Everything, including the program, service areas, the contact, whatever you need, it's all there on the website. Very easy, and good stuff here this morning.